So Fox News is going crazy, claiming that the Biden administration has politicized the FBI. But is there any basis for them to complain, especially after how Donald Trump behaved? Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So Tucker Carlson and others at Fox News have been freaking out, claiming that the Biden administration has politicized the FBI. Oh my God. I mean, they've investigated Donald Trump for stealing classified documents and potentially leaking them to foreign powers. God forbid he do that. But now they're making claims based upon an alleged whistleblower from the FBI. Let's check it out.
First, there's other news we wanted to get to, and that includes an update on the Biden administration's armed crackdown on its critics. Earlier this month, a longtime FBI agent and SWAT team veteran called Steve Friend came forward to blow the whistle on what he has seen happen to the FBI under Joe Biden. And what he
yes, Steve Friend. Okay, let's just talk about Steve Friend for a second here. Who is Steve Friend? He was, in fact, an FBI special agent who worked with their SWAT team. He was directed to arrest somebody who was involved in January 6th insurrection. He refused to do so. As a result, he was put on leave. Now, the FBI has various practices and procedures that you can use as a whistleblower to report misconduct. However, Friend decided that he wasn't going to use those procedures. Instead, he went to Senators Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley, who, of course, as MAGA supporters, were all too happy to jump on his allegations. Let's keep watching.
He said was shocking. According to Agent Friend, Biden's FBI routinely uses heavily armed SWAT teams to raid the homes of American citizens who dare to criticize the administration.
Okay, let's be clear who they're talking about here. These are January 6th insurrectionists. And the reason that the FBI was used to raid the homes of these people was because of the fact that these people are known to be heavily armed. In fact, we have video of them heavily armed at the Capitol on January 6th. Let's keep watching.
Now, to be clear, these are people who pose no danger to anyone. These are people who haven't even been accused, much less convicted, of a violent crime.
Not so. They may not have been convicted of violent crimes yet, but they are being arrested and investigated for their involvement in the insurrection of January 6th, and Steve Friend has been opposed to that. Let's keep watching.
So the point is not to bring justice, the point is to terrify and intimidate Joe Biden's political opponents. Hard to believe that's happening, but it is. Last year, to name just one example, the FBI's counterterrorism division raided the home of a 69-year-old Red Cross volunteer called Joseph Bolanos. An anonymous snitch had claimed that Bolanos was at the Capitol on January 6th. Not that he did anything violent, but that he was there. It turns out that wasn't even true. It was a lie. But the feds moved forward and destroyed Bolanos' life anyway. They showed up with guns, they stole his electronic devices, and they refused to return them. The whole experience was so traumatic that Joseph Bolanos suffered 2 strokes. Well, on September 19th, the FBI suspended Agent Steve Friend for daring to reveal what was happening, these abuses.
No, he was suspended because of the fact that he refused a lawful order from his superior, which was to arrest somebody who had been involved in the January 6th insurrection. And that's not this guy that they're talking about, by the way. I'm not familiar with that particular individual, so I can't comment on it. But I can say that the case that's resulted in Steve Friend's discipline was specifically one where an individual was on video at the Capitol wearing tactical gear and assaulting police officers. Let's keep watching.
Now, it's illegal under federal law to punish whistleblowers, but the FBI did it anyway.
No, it's not, because he's not a whistleblower. There's a procedure that you go through to be a whistleblower. Instead, he went to Congress. And again, he was disciplined because he refused a lawful order, not because then he reported, which he did after he was disciplined. Let's keep watching.
Then, 4 days later, with Friend out of the way, on the morning of September 23rd, a team of nearly 30 FBI agents bristling with automatic weapons raided the home of yet another harmless man with no criminal record. That man's name was Mark Houck. Houck is 47. He's a leader in his local Catholic community. FBI agents pointed rifles at Houck and his wife in front of their 7 children. Once again, to be clear, Houck is not a terrorist. He's never been accused of terrorism. He is instead a pro-lifer. Houck founded an organization called the King's Men. It's a pro-life group that encourages men to be leaders in their communities. Now, to give you a sense of who Houck is, we want to play this for you. Here he is describing the experience he had earlier this year praying outside an abortion clinic with his son.
A woman came out who had an abortion, and we offered her some post-abortion healing. And, we just said, we'll pray for you. And as we were praying, the sorrowful mysteries, I brought my son over. I said, come on, let's kneel down. We're going to do this, and we're going to leave. She got into it. She started attacking us personally while we were praying the sorrowful mysteries. I said, son, this is what the Lord's talking about when he said if they hated me, they're going to hate you. They persecuted me, they're going to persecute. I whispered this to him as she was spewing all this vulgarity onto him and me. Mm. And, I just told him, this is what it's going to take. This is what we have to do. This is part of the journey.
Poor guy. Yes, what's neglected to mention is the fact that then he assaulted her, which was actually what he was arrested for. But of course, it's okay to assault people if you're doing it because you're a pro-lifer, right? Let's keep watching.
So that's Mark Houck. Now, he's a religious man. Not everyone is a religious person. Not everyone agrees with Mark Houck. But there's no doubt that Mark Houck is a nonviolent person.
Except that he assaulted a volunteer who was trying to protect people who were trying to obtain lawful abortions. Let's keep watching.
In October of last year, Houck was standing outside another abortion clinic in Pennsylvania. He was joined again by his 12-year-old son. That's when a man approached and began harassing the boy. So to defend his son, Houck pushed the extremist back. That was it. Local police looked into it. The district attorney's office looked into it. Nobody pressed charges against Mark Houck because it's not assault to protect your son.
Except they did press charges against him. That's why he was arrested. Let's keep watching.
From an extremist who's attacking him. But the Biden Justice Department decided to revise this view, and they charged Mark Houck with a federal crime, a felony, obstructing abortion access. There was no evidence that he had obstructed abortion access, but that's what they charged him with. Now, Houck learned about 3 months ago that the DOJ planned to charge him, and he offered to turn himself in voluntarily. That's what a civilized country allows. But that wasn't good enough for Merrick Garland's DOJ. They wanted to punish him and terrify his family to send the right message to anyone who would dare get in the way of the Biden agenda. So the DOJ sent a team of federal agents with rifles to Houck's home. He now faces 11 years in prison for protecting his son.
If you believe that, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. Let's keep watching.
Now, again, it's hard to believe that any of that actually happened, but it actually did. Subscribe to the Fox News.
Okay, except that it's completely mischaracterized. And, you got to give Tucker Carlson credit. He does a good job of painting things being one way that are not that way. He completely neglects to mention the fact that this guy was a violent extremist who repeatedly assaulted people and who was justifiably arrested under a federal law. And what's more is we've got courts. If he's not guilty, then he will not be convicted. And the irony is we have another example of that to point to, which is the counterexample, which is Jeffrey Berman. Let me tell you who Jeffrey Berman was. Jeffrey Berman was a Trump supporter in the 2016 election and contributor, a lawyer who was very active in his campaign and served on his transition team. Berman was then appointed the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, one of the most important positions in the Department of Justice. Berman worked for the Trump administration for 3 years, and he just recently came out with a book where he details some of the efforts by Donald Trump and Bill Barr to pressure him to essentially persecute Trump's political opponents. They included wanting to pressure him to open an investigation on John Kerry and to remove all references in the complaint against Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer who was prosecuted by Berman. In other words, he was being pressured to basically cover over Trump's involvement with Cohen. And because of the fact that Berman prosecuted Cohen, he was then pressured to investigate Democratic attorney Gregory Craig. Berman refused to prosecute him. And then, when the U.S. Attorney's Office for the D.C. District actually did prosecute him, he was acquitted after a short trial where the jury basically left the room, voted, and came back and acquitted him. So that's an example of a political persecution that hit the wall of protections that have been created by courts, and exactly not the type of thing that Tucker Carlson was talking about there. Well, if you want to see more about how Donald Trump and Bill Barr tried to politicize the Justice Department, check out this video over here. It's another example of where they actually ended up moving forward with the prosecution that fell flat on its face when it ended up in front of a jury. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.